Good afternoon. Once again, we're meeting with Wellness Gathering. My name is Lorraine, and we're taking responsibility for our well-being through the principles of core alignment. And we're focusing on making use of time. And Lynn is going to lead us in our session. We had such a good session last week, and we're looking forward to this one. Lynn.
Yay. Yes, we're going to be continuing our conversation about time and what we do with our time and how time supports us or limits us. And so today we're going to be doing a bit of a process again. And the challenge will be to do it in a half an hour. I think we should be able to do it. So we're going to be doing a timeline process, and we are going to start our call the same way we do, with a question. Anyone, anywhere, anytime can answer. And so say your name and say where you are. And the question for today is, what is a story that you easily tell often to people? So my name is Lynne, and I'm in Calgary, Alberta, and a story that I easily tell often to people. Well, I seem to be able to talk about my home because people ask me about my home or just some of the artifacts that I have in my home, because a lot of them, we're sort of like a gallery for our one daughter who is an artist. So I easily tell often her story because a lot of her pieces elicit a story to tell. So that's me. So Olive?
The first thing that I thought of
is where are you?
Where am I? Today, my name's Olive. Today I am in Calgary, Alberta, visiting my daughter and son-in-law and my 2 grandchildren. The first thing that came to my mind is that I tell the story of my mother who had dementia at the end of her life. And people say, well, what was the first sign that she had dementia? And for me, it was the birthday year that she sent me a loaf of bread from the southeast corner of Saskatchewan by mail to the north part of Saskatchewan. So of course, it took about 5 days to get there, and by the time it got there, it was good for croutons, I guess. But that was kind of the first sign that she wasn't really making good decisions anymore. It's a funny and a sad story all at once.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. Dawn Marie?
I am Dawn Marie, and I'm from Sacramento, California. And the story that I often tell very easily is the journey of how I got to where I'm at. It's been about 10 years or so that I've lived where I'm living right now, but the journey of moving from one end of town to the other end of town, then to find myself settled where I'm at right now is in such a peaceful environment. And people always want to know, how'd you find that place? And it was just divine guidance that got me here.
Awesome. Cool. Madeline?
I'm Madeline. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, and a story I tell easily. Well, I guess the story of Gordon and I getting married, I tell easily, because it was not, the focus was not getting married. The focus was basically having a party, and we had a lot of relatives kind of close by. It happened to happen that they were all coming to visit at and were either close by enough that they could come and visit, or anyway, it all kind of came together, and it was a bit of a surprise for everyone that 4 o'clock rolled around and we were getting married too. but it was a lot of fun, and the whole neighborhood, everybody that were from out of town stayed at neighbors. We just kind of billeted people. Like it just didn't cost very much. It was all just kind of spontaneous and fun. It was like having a big barbecue. So that's the story I tell often.
That's awesome. Cool. Lorraine?
Yeah, gee, I tell many stories, but I'm Lorraine, and I'm in Wausau, British Columbia, in the East Kootenays. And the story that I tell often and easily, I think I always seem to go back to how my two girlfriends, after graduating from psych nursing, going to Europe on a one-way ticket, hitchhiking around, working in England, hitchhiking around, running out of money, finding a job in Switzerland, and coming back home. And we went by ship, and we came back home by ship. So that's a story. There are so many memories in that. That's the essence of my life, is that adventure.
Wow, so many, so cool. So many stories and so much information that we gather from stories. So what we're going to be doing is a bit of a timeline process. And this process was developed by a man named Tad James. And basically, we're going to be taking part of core alignment coaching and emotional wisdom training is taking an outside perspective and seeing things from a different point of view. So the intention for our conversation is to assist us in gaining more clarity around what might not be working in our lives and see how it actually is working. And we're going to be looking at what a timeline is that can help us resolve some of our limiting beliefs and see how what might have been limiting us actually is supporting us. And the timeline refers to the knowledge that our past experiences are affecting our present situation and influencing our future choices. So we're just going to do a little snippet of this, and we are going to observe a little piece of our timeline together to gather more information. So I want you to just imagine that there is a line between the time you were conceived in your mother's womb until now. And it's like a big high wire, and you can look at that timeline and see little lights popping up of significant things that might have had your attention, where you might have felt that things weren't working so well in your life. So we'll just go around and just see what we see and just share a snippet of, just talking about the times that we might see things not working and just little lights popping up along that timeline. So I'll go first. And when I think of my line being from when I was conceived in my mother's womb up until now.
True love.
So the things that really pop up for me is the time between 4 and 6. There was lots of little events in our family's world that affected me, and I was just little. And so I always see that, I think around 4 or 5 years old, popping up for me, because it was a time where one of my eldest cousins passed away kind of tragically. And it's impacted my life in many, many ways. And it's also been a really big blessing as well. So we'll just go around. Olive, what do you see?
The first memory I have is probably from that 5-6-year-old age. And I started school in a one-room schoolroom, a schoolhouse, where I was very comfortable and felt very secure. And when I was in grade 4, the school system changed and all these little rural schools closed, and we had to be bused to a bigger school where I was lost. I was just this little country mouse in with kids from all over. That's kind of the first transition where I felt like a fish out of water.
Got it. Dawn Marie?
Well, for me, it's the number 27. And the 27 has a significant impact on my life in many different areas. I got married at 27. I served at my local church for 27 years. I worked for the school district for 27 years. I retired on the 27th day of June. And so as I look back on 27, 2 and 7 equals 9. And 9 is the date that I was born on. So there's just some significant tie-ins to 27 moments of time in my life that I really can sit down and say, oh, it was the 27th, or it's the 27th year of me doing such and such. So I really try to pay attention to that because it's been a significant date for me in this journey of my life.
And at that time, were there things that might not have been working so easily?
Well, there were a number of things. I mean, I ended up getting married at 27, then I had a baby right away and trying to financially piece all that together. My mother said, go work for the school district. I did at 27. And, as I look back on it, it was such a blessing that I paid attention, not knowing that 27th was going to be such a significant time frame in my life. But some good things and some bad things occurred, but always around the number 27.
Got it. That's interesting. How about you, Madeline?
I would say I'll pick just randomly when I was 17 and I was leaving home to go to Toronto, leaving Kingston to go to Toronto. And I was doing it for me, but there was lots of resistance from my folks. They didn't really want me to go. It was my dad primarily. He wanted me to stay and go to university, and I wanted to go to a college and pursue what I wanted to pursue, which was theater. And I was very happy to get going, but it was not with a lot of guilt, good Catholic guilt. And so that sticks out in my mind that was not a particular, like I just went anyway, like no matter what he could offer me. Like there was bribery involved, there was like lots of I'll pay for everything, I'll give you a car. There was lots and lots of that to get me to do what he wanted me to do, and I didn't want to do it, and I just never played along. And I quite honestly, that it served me, but it didn't serve me. Like there was moments where there was a lot of guilt attached to it.
Got it. I got it. How about you, Lorraine?
Yeah, what brings my mind when I was very young. Of course, I was born during the Depression, a middle child of 7. And as I went to school very young, I always felt that I wasn't good enough. I always felt that everybody else was smarter than me. I couldn't express myself, so I felt very inefficient and scared. But the way I overcome it, I was a joiner. I joined everything and became involved and a follower. So that I was balancing that, but I always compare myself to others. I wasn't, I took music lessons and I wasn't a piano player at all. I was note, one finger, can't remember anything I took. So that's my memory of when I was young, going to a one-room school and just felt very inefficient. Besides, my older siblings picked on me.
Got it. Oh, so good to look at these things, right? Because at the time it seems so overwhelming, like the memory of it might be overwhelming, or it might have all these feelings that go with it. But as you take a look at it now from where you are, in these situations, what do you see that you might not have seen then? So I'll go first. So the thing that I see now that I might not have seen then, well, number one, I see the beauty of what I perceived for a while as really traumatic. I also can see now how, the divine or there was some beautiful grace that was supporting me along the way. And it really taught me how to take something that is really hard and difficult and make it be something more positive, and see how I can dance through life, not just in that one little moment where I felt like my dancing shoes had been taken out from under me. So what about you, Olive?
I think one of the things that came from my feeling isolated in a big, as a small fish in a big pond, was that I developed a love of reading. And that has served me well all my life. Wherever I would go, I'd always take a book. And if I felt like I didn't fit in, I just went and read my book. and I still sometimes resort to that. Maybe not always. Maybe it's not always a good thing, because I'm sure I've been perceived as being stuck up or snobbish because of it. That's what I'm thinking.
Got it. Thank you. Marie?
Well, from the words of a very wise woman who's on this call, that this resonated with me when she said it. Damn, I'm good. To get from then to now and just know that anything is possible. You just keep moving forward. I just can't get stuck behind what happened and what didn't happen. Going through a divorce, my children growing up, and me being on my own. I just have to pat myself on the back.
Yeah.
I'm still standing. I'm going through it all, no matter what it may look like. There's a saying that says you may have gone through the fire, but you don't smell like smoke. So life just has a way of bringing you around to let you know that, it's not as bad as you think it is.
It is. So awesome. Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Madeline?
I would say that what it has provided me with for now is a perspective dealing with my kids, and that they're not thinking about how I'm feeling. that's just the facts, right? And to pretend like I have a big, weight on their shoulders is really, it's not true. Like, they may hear something if I say something to them, but they're not going to particularly acknowledge that, they were the words of wisdom that got me through anything. That's going to be later, right? That's going to be much later. So I think remembering my experience helps me remember how to deal with my kids in a realistic way.
Got it. Thank you. How about you, Lorraine?
Well, as I said before, I seem to compensate for the lack of confidence by being a joiner and getting involved and quietly just observing and learning. I wasn't outgoing enough to take charge, but I certainly learned to be a leader now. So, but I think that's a defense mechanism of just that inadequate feeling and getting angry at the things that didn't really work for me.
Got it. Yeah. So with looking at this from a different perspective, what might you have forgotten that well, let's just see, how do I want to say this? What information might you have forgotten and back then that if you added it now would make it better?
What information?
Yeah, what do you notice now around what, looking at it now, what do you notice now that you might have forgotten? Olive?
I think looking back, I probably should or could have been less independent, less stubborn, less stuck in my own way. I could have maybe tried to blend in better. I've since learned to do that, but back then I was very headstrong, and if I didn't like the way something was done, well, I spoke up and probably got myself into hot water when it would have maybe been easier to just go along with the flow.
Got it. Thank you. How about you, Don Marie?
I have to say my spirituality. I remember growing up and my mom would take my sister and I and just drop us off at church, and we'd almost be there all day, it seemed like. And, you know, being a young child, being immersed in religion, you really don't understand it. You're just kind of going through the motions. But, you know, there was some foundation that was being set at that time that, as I fast forward to today, I'm grateful that my mother took me to church and left me there all that time. And it allowed me to develop my spirituality and my understanding of a higher power, and knowing that with God all things are possible. And I really rely on that today. I study the Bible. I just spend that quality time of really immersing myself in a place of, I don't want to call it religiosity or anything like that, but it helps to keep me grounded. It helps to keep me walking in love. It helps me to forgive a lot quicker when things happen in my life, and just be able to walk through it without carrying the burden of the responsibility of what someone may have said or did. Just helps me to move through life a lot smoother.
Awesome. Thank you. Madeline?
I guess what I would have liked to have known then was that I didn't need to feel bad. That's all. I just didn't. I was, I was forging ahead, doing what I wanted to do, and it was good. I was taking care of me, and that was good. And I did, I wasn't meant to be taking care of them. It was, I didn't need all the guilt. So I think if I had been a little bit more sure of, I was sure they were going to be fine. I just, I don't know, it's just, you just hang on to stuff that you don't need to hang on to. And I think I hang on to less stuff. And so if I had known then not to hang on to all of it, that would have been a lot better.
Awesome. Yeah. How about you, Lorraine?
Yeah, the question was what I know now, looking back, and what if I had known then what I know now. I think the fact that I felt like I was being demoralized a lot. Even my mother would make snide remarks about my hair or something. And my sisters would say I got a big nose, and there was a lot of information I heard from people and my siblings that it does come up now, and but I think because I was developing a strong defense mechanism at that time, I survived it, and I don't really give a shit what somebody says.
Excellent.
Excuses. I guess I better
Because
bleep
damn,
that
you're
one out.
good.
So, oh, yeah. Well, our intention for today is to see how we can positively impact our future and gain more clarity around what has not been working, what has not worked in our life, and see how we can how it may actually be working. So, what will you take with you from this conversation that will support you until we talk again? Olive?
Well, what comes to mind is what I heard on the news a few weeks ago from a lady, Indigenous chief. She said, we've got to stop focusing so much on the past and be more concerned about health and well-being in the present so that our future can be better. So that's kind of what I think. The past was the past, and we've learned from it, and now we have to move on and make the future a better world for us and for everybody else.
Cool. Awesome. Marie?
What I will take away from today that will support me until we meet again is being open. It's okay to allow yourself to be seen in the way that you think people may not see you. And so being able to be okay with that and just keep moving through life and knowing that, the best is still to come. And that's what encourages me each day. Mm-hmm. So I'll remember.
Madeline?
What I will take with me that will support me until we talk again? Well, a lot of everything everyone said, for sure. Being in the present and moving forward, learning from your past, that's a really big one. But not giving a shit, I think, is one that really stood out. So I think that's a very valuable thing to focus on.
Lorraine?
Yes, I like what Olive said. It's really true. And where we are today is a blessing from where we came from, because that set the foundation of where we are today. And acknowledging that, this is what I will take away till we meet again, because that's the important thing right now, and what we're going to do now, because now is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to take away, is that anytime we can go back and kind of do this process and kind of look at the past, but we can also add to it more information and actually see it with new eyes. And I think that does, I take away that it really helps me, stay in the moment and what can I do now without having to get caught into what was then and how that can impact my future. So what will you take with you that'll support you for the rest of your life? Olive?
What I will take with me is to appreciate the past and to have hopefully learned from it and move on with a positive attitude.
Marie?
What I will take away from this that will support me for the rest of my life is that being in the midst of like-minded people can help you to really look at life in a different aspect or a different way. And as I look out and hear what each of you have said today, it really makes me glad that I'm still here and that I get to experience this new growth, and that, what happened in the past, I can't do anything about that. So being grateful for where I am today and meeting people who, have the same likes that I like, and just knowing that, we each bring our own set of tools to the table, if you will. And those tools are what's going to help us to be able to build better in the future of what's to come. So I like being in this environment and being able to really look into myself by what I hear from others are saying today.
Madeline?
What I will take with me that will support me for the rest of my life. I think it's a really great exercise to look at points in your past and and really see what, you know, how you what you gleaned from that now. I think it's a great exercise because you can get bogged down in how to change everything, but it's not really about that. It's just how you feel about stuff, your perspective on stuff. And it's a good way to see how your perspective has changed. So I think it's a great exercise.
Awesome. Lorraine?
And what I take away from this today to support me the rest of my life, I take away the fact that I can laugh at the things that happen and don't blame anybody because of that, and just really appreciate what I have learned throughout my many years, and I feel very grateful for that.
Awesome. Well, what I take away that'll support me for the rest of my life is something that I heard from Kate Michaels many, many times. And she would say, you got to give yourself credit where credit is due. And I really take away that there's these conversations are a place where we can give ourselves credit where credit is due, because all the things, no matter what they looked like in the past, good or bad, you know, it's easy to judge them or criticize them or make up something about them or whatever. It could be both sides of the coin, but this is a way to give ourselves credit where credit is due, and look at the profit that we're making, and really looking at, you know, these financial terms in a whole different way. Because if I can fill myself up with that credit where credit's due, then it can make me feel, you know, it builds my confidence, it builds my presence and my ability to show up more as I am, recognizing the past and celebrating right now, and looking at what more is possible for the future. So how does it get any better?
Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for a very interesting and thought-provoking half hour, and we will see you next Monday.